in Premiere Pro, you can use some simple effects to make things look kind of cool. I'm going to come down here and just shut this audio down. I really don't want to hear what's going on there, so we're going to turn it off. Mute it right there. So now it's turned off. I'm going to I used my GoPro, and I'll turn this effect off. And so I have an older GoPro, but I have a really good DSLR HD camera. And so the video footage, the quality is not the same. I had to go in and kind of tweak the settings and tweak the colors because it was really orange. You can see it down here, and so I had to really work on that. I'm not really going to get too much into that, but the GoPro wasn't what the video wasn't where I wanted to be, but I still like this shot, and I'm going to use some of this for my opening or my opener, right? And I'm going to use some of the audio here to, you know, go along with it. You can attach effects to videos and audio. Over here in your effects tab, I'm just looking for Gaussian blur, and all I did was drag this over from here to over here. Then you can double click on that video that you've just added your effect, and you need to go to effects control. And so here's my Gaussian blur, and you can turn it off and on by the effects. And one thing you want to make sure that you do is click on repeat edge pixels. If you don't, you get like this vignette effect. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to kind of blur this out. So you can still see what's going on, and that's what I want. Maybe even a little bit more. And you could actually animate this blurriness. I mean, I could have it, you know, start right here, click here to have a keyframe, make this at 0, or actually I can make it like, you know, 50. All right. And as time decreases, I could say, okay, move playhead up a little bit, hit 0 and enter. And so it comes from blurry to sharp, right? So that's the one way that you can affect depth of field, but it affects it not just for a specific focal point in your video, it does it for overall. But I really don't want to animate this. I'm going to make it blurry overall, just so that I still see what's going on. I still know what's kind of happening there. And I mean, I know, you might not know. If I might bump this down a little bit, it might be too much. Let's say 35. And so double click on this one, effects controls. I have the Gaussian blur already on that. Repeat edge pixels here. And so we have a nice kind of looking video where we can use it for the intro there. So it's not too bad. One thing you can do, we can create a new title for, we want this to be kind of like a default still. And I'm just going to call this opener title text. We go to OK, and I can type in, and I'm going to kind of design this type here. Over here is your properties for the text. I'm going to use Futura. I'm probably going to use, well, I have several Futuras. I'm going to use PT. The regular Futura is a little bit heavy. That's what I want. You can hold down Shift. Alright. And so I'm just going to kind of put his here. Well, we can put it in the middle, I guess. It really doesn't matter. We're gonna animate this in a minute. I don't know if I want to go to vegetables, but we're actually making a satire based on this video I saw. I don't name who did it, but it shows the horrible effects of what happens in slaughterhouses. And while it's really terrible, the footage they shown was really gut wrenching. It's just horrible to see what goes on, but it was also their tool to try and get people to buy their product and donate to this organization. And so I'm doing a satire. I'm reversing that, and I'm doing this on vegetables, like the mistreatment of vegetables and how we cut them up and drown them in water, and all these different things, i.e. washing. I'm trying to think of a title. I really haven't thought of it until now, so it might be like alright, so I'm gonna go with, I'm gonna make this really big here, alive, and I'm actually gonna make this a green. The reason that I'm gonna make this a green here is because in the vegetable world, in the plant world, green generally means healthy. Brown means dying and decaying. Since it's going to be kind of on a background, I need a little yellow in there to make it pop. That makes a little bit more yellow in there. But green generally tends to mean healthy. Alright, so we have this one. And we can just see it there. You can double click on it again. I'm going to drag it up here to video 2. I'm going to select all this and just kind of shift it down. But we have alive. And we're going to animate this. So I am going to use a Gaussian blur on this. I'm going to have it kind of come out. We're going to do, double click on it, make sure that we're up here in effects controls. And we're going to affect the position, and we're going to affect the Gaussian blur. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it pretty blurry here, and we're also going to do the opacity. So I'm going to move it kind of like right here, the edge of my action safe, and I'm going to create a keyframe there, and I've already have a keyframe for my Gaussian blur. So over the course of about a second here, I'm going to have it come from the blurriness. Make another keyframe. It's going to be 0, but I'm gonna have it like maybe at 2 seconds. It's gonna kind of come in and it's gonna move across the screen here. All right, so it's like you can see it here, and that's just too much. So maybe maybe at 3 seconds. Let's see. Oh, that's 5 seconds, which is fine. We'll go right at 5 seconds. All right. Alive comes in, and then maybe at 4 seconds here, we're going to start Gaussian blur again, and we're going to blur it out. So use your arrow keys to jump between keyframes so you know you're on the precise keyframe. And we'll say whatever it was, like 50. I don't remember. It was 107. Let's say 110. Make it a good round number there. But we also have to use the opacity too, because we want it to fade out. Fade out and fade in. So here we are. We're going to have it just a little bit before it starts to, start to blur out. Make another keyframe there. Oh, And you want the stagger effects. You never want them to always occur at the same time. Like if everything goes out at the same time, it just seems unnatural. Like it starts to kind of go dark before it goes out, right? And that's really what we want to do with effects. So, alright, so we want to fade in from 0. Alright, so opacity set to 0. It's kind of off screen a little bit. It comes in, so it's alive. And then really just simple animation. Alright, so it's easy there. I'm going to make another title screen. Default still. This is going to be no. And this is simply going to be no. And then Futura MT is what PT is what I used. I'm going to use book here. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. The white's there. Yeah, that's fine. Gonna bring this down. Select that, delete it. Okay. Live, no. And we're just gonna add a little bit of motion to this guy here. It's up here. Want to make sure that we're in the project there. All right, so no. We want to just do a little bit of a motion. I'm gonna set it. Might have it come down, start kind of coming down. So, and we're just gonna go to the very end there. So it's like this kind of slow. Oh, it's like this slow motion. I'm probably gonna do this only. Each one of these are roughly 5 seconds. So I don't need that much. So I'm just gonna drag this in to the timeline there. And make sure my snapping's on. So it'll snap to the timeline. Maybe a little bit more. All right. And so now I'm gonna drag it down just a little bit to about right here. All right, so it's like you can see how live. No. We could even stagger these if you want. I mean, we can bring this up here and kind of have it like see where the live starts to fade out. We want that no to start fading in. All right, so with our opacity here, make a keyframe, maybe go up to 502. That's a full second. Make another keyframe, go back to the first one, make it 0. Alright. See how this works? Alright. Timing, animation, and effects. I mean, timing is absolutely everything. If you don't have good timing, then you don't have a good product. So I'm just kind of showing you. So now we have the title live. Starts to go out and the no comes in. No. And then the last one would have to be more. Default still. I didn't name it. So we could say T more. Gotta get the Futura, PT, and we'll do bleak, make it pretty big. animate it anyway. I'll stick it there, that's fine. And we might make this like a red. Alright, and now this looks too much like a Christmas tree. Oh, a brown. Remember what I was saying earlier, that brown looks like dead or decaying, so maybe it's got to be light enough that we can see it, so that works. Alive is the green and verdant. The brown is the dead and gone. So everything that you do in storytelling matters, right? Everything. And so now we can bring the more down here. We really don't need it to be that long. Alright, so just make sure we reveal in project. Let's just right click there. We want to start maybe right here, because we're going to have it kind of fade into. So opacity, emotion. Go back to the first one. You see what we're doing, so I probably won't explain too much of it to you. We'll turn the opacity effect off just so I can move it down here. And I'm going to move it from this to the other side. So we do need the Gaussian blur on it as well. Alright, so we're starting at the beginning, 110. Alright, we'll have it come in just a little bit. Alright, 0. Alright, and then, well, here for the blurriness, opacity needs a keyframe. Then at the very end, we'll have another. This is 110. This is 0, and so we don't have it moving yet. So we need to make the position right here. So what's happening is, well, messed up because I didn't have a keyframe. So at the beginning, it needs to be right here. Make a keyframe. Don't forget your keyframes. It's pretty important. And then we drag playhead down and we move it to the opposite side. The opacity also there. So now you see how it's working. Alright, so live, no more. And what we will do is we'll have kind of what, as this is going out, we'll have this come in, okay? But we're going to use the dip to black, so we don't have to animate this. And then we have that audio just a little bit. And you've seen this done in movies before, so you know it exists. And that alive still might be too much, going there too fast. I mean, we could even, we might even have this interspersed throughout the beginning. Maybe dip to black, have it dip out there. So we're just using really simple effects to create a nice intro. And then we might, have this one here. See, this duration's too fast. I'm going to go to 0. And I'm going to go to 12. Yeah. And you can double click on these clips Like you can even double click on these and it'll bring up the duration. So 0. The reason I'm doing 12 is half a second because we're going 24 frames a second. So, you know, we have that down. Alright, so now we see kind of what it's looking like. Alright, so this looks pretty good. You can increase the seconds if they're coming in too fast. You know, you could say we're doing it by frames. We could say, okay, it's going to be, you know, maybe instead of 12 we might do 15, and that might be a little bit better, a little bit more than half a second. And so just looking at this and just kind of figuring out Alright, and so I'm just going to bring this down a little bit here. I have all my other stuff that I've been working on as far as editing goes, and we're going to bring some of this in. Alright, so delete some of the space. And of course this will definitely be dipped to black. I have to do, you know, definitely 0. Well, we can do 1 second. We'll just stretch the beginning out because I already edited it, but we can still stretch the beginning out a little bit. That way it and that's pretty much it. And you could find you a good soundtrack to go with some of this, you know. You might have your soundtrack sound and then dip out as this audio comes in, dip back up, dip back out. And it's just a matter of editing, you know. It's just a matter of proper timing and making things look right. This is going out. I want it to just kind of, when it starts to right about there, that's where I need all this to start, kind of. Alright, so timing more right there. And so the timing is pretty good, and that's what we want. So happy editing and happy making great openers in Premiere Pro.